Hello, this is Meredith Pace, Bree Stalker, and Wesley Kennedy working on our chemistry project. Today we're going to show an example of solubility and describe what solubility is. We are going to also talk about heat transfer and give an example of stoichiometry in your daily life. Starting with solubility. Solubility is the property of a solid, a liquid, or a gas substance called the solute, and it is dissolved in a solid, liquid, or gas solvent. The solubility of a substance depends on its physical or chemical properties of the solute and the solvent, as well as the temperature. If a substance is soluble, this means that the substance can dissolve, and if it is insoluble, it is incapable of being dissolved. We're going to start with an example of using sugar and pepper as our solutes and water as our solvents. First, Bree is going to mix the sugar into the water. As you can see, it will dissolve and you wouldn't even be able to tell that there was sugar in it because it is soluble. Next, we're going to use the example, and Wesley's going to mix in the pepper with the water. Pepper is actually insoluble, meaning it is incapable of being dissolved. If you look into the water, you will be able to clearly see the pepper is still in there and can't be dissolved. Next, we are going to move on to heat transfer. Today, we are using the example in your daily life. If you were ever to boil water for anything, whether you're cooking or boiling any foods, the heat transfer, there's 3 different types of heat transfer. So we first are going to start with conduction. Conduction is the process by which heat transfer is transmitted through collisions between neighboring molecules. If there was not a cushion where the hand is, where your hand is placed, the metal handle would be very hot. The front of the handle where Bree's touching is very hot right now because of conduction. The heat source is transferring that heat through the pot and onto the handle. The next example is convection. Convection is the heat transfer by mass motion of a fluid, and it is caused when the substance is moving away from the heat source, carrying energy with it. If you looked above the pot, you could see the steam. This is because the water is trying to move away from the heat source, so it's rising. The water is actually very hot because it is boiling, so this is also an example of convection. The third example that we are going to do today of heat transfer is radiation. Radiation is the heat transfer that takes place in the form of electromagnetic waves. So radiation is not visible unless, it's not visible because it is an electromagnetic wave. But if you were to put your hand above the pot or above the stove, that heat source, the heat would be rising and you would be able to feel the heat, and that is what radiation consists of. The last thing we're going to talk about today is stoichiometry. Stoichiometry sounds like a very hard concept to learn, but it's actually very easy when it is a part of your daily life. Most people don't realize this, but you can roast marshmallows or s'mores, and that is actually an example of stoichiometry. In this example, our crackers, we need 6 crackers.